Well, welcome everyone. Uh, Whatever your time zone, we are really pleased to have this opportunity to really have an open session with new members of AERA and first-time attendees. And for us, the emphasis on first-time attendees, although we are um, open to and interested in answering and addressing all the questions that may be on your mind when you're thinking about and planning to come to the AERA 2021 virtual annual meeting. For first-time attendees who have not been at a place-based meeting, a lot of your questions undoubtedly relate to how to navigate the AERA annual meeting, how to navigate AERA, and the added dimension of what to do in making that a meaningful substantive experience, scholarly experience, and professionally rewarding experience when you're doing so in virtual space. So we hope today to be able to speak to those issues. I am Felice Levine, AERA Executive Director. I am broadcasting from home at the moment, where AERA has been doing so for almost a year, although we've done some limited amount of broadcasting through the AERA central office in Washington, D.C. And in a way, we will be doing that virtually from many different places and spaces together in just a little bit over a week, starting on April 8th with some pre-day workshops and sessions, actually starting on Monday, the 5th. We are a small enough group, so I both want to welcome you and welcome my partner for this orientation, Robert Smith, AERA Director of all things meetings, including our mega annual meeting this year. And we'll make some sort of brief orienting remarks, but it would be helpful if you might put in the chat sort of where you're from and whether you're a first-time attendee, so that we sort of orient how we present the information in a way that at least we can scroll briefly and both say hello to all of you. We're a small enough group that we could have even done this in more of a meeting mode than a webinar mode. So let's assume we're all together in one big room, because we're shortly going to be together in one big space. I'll start with a bit of a brief orientation. As you can see, we have closed captioning, and if you wish to read the closed captioning, you navigate to the bottom part of the screen in Zoom, and you hit live transcript, and that will bring the closed captioning up. We also have Asl Interpreters. Amy is with us for about 20 minutes, and then she will switch off to Kabaski, who will also be with us throughout this hour and a half, as Joseph is with us throughout doing the closed captioning. So we're hoping to hit time zones that are most convenient for. So we have everything from Korea and Singapore to someone getting up even earlier in the morning in the United States, in Iowa. Welcome, one and all. This will be recorded. This session, the one tomorrow, and the one that we're doing on Friday, all have more of an informal aspiration on our parts to really be able to be sure we hear from you, that we address the issues on your minds. On the AERA website are now the recordings of, I think, 8 orientation sessions we did on other aspects of the virtual meeting and the annual meeting, from creating an presentation as a mode of presenting your papers, if you wish to do so, to general orientations about the platform, to the attendee experience, which undoubtedly we will also address today, through those who are participating in a session as a presenter, whether a presenter of a paper or speaking on a symposium session in one mode or another, whether you're a chair or a discussant. And we'll go through some of that today too, because for first timers who haven't experienced the ARA annual meeting, it might seem a bit oblique. So I just want to show you visually. So I'm holding up a book, and I think this book is from the 2017 annual meeting, which was in San Antonio, Texas. And there are many, many pages that that one could navigate if they had the hard copy of the program. And that very much defines the structure of the meeting and some, I suppose, Robert, what, 2,500, 2,800 sessions? Is that just about,
Yep.
just about right? So for those of you who've not been to an ARA annual meeting, of course, what do I do to try to figure out both what I want to sample, where I want to be, what aligns with my interests, where I want to try something new. And a lot of the orientation to an annual meeting is in part to understand how the meeting is structured, so that you can experience the meeting and really, in a way, I'll say, shop around. So so we're going to show you a little bit about that and how you can, if you haven't already done so, prepare to understand and experience what the options are, and sort of make some preliminary decisions in addition to how you might be presenting what you might wish to go to. And you would be doing that and thinking about that, whether it was a place-based meeting, let's say next year in San Diego, California, or whether it is a virtual meeting. So those of you who submitted a paper submission or a session submission, or were part of a session submission, undoubtedly read the call. And at one point or another, you needed to decide where you were submitting. You were submitting to one of AERA's 12 divisions, or one of AERA's 152 SIGs, the special interest group research areas that are really, in a way, subfield specialties or new and emerging areas within the field, or a number of our committees have open submissions, like the International Relations Committee. And I suppose when you submitted, you were looking to find yourself in that schema, and perhaps didn't as much attend to what the range of options are. There are essentially 12 divisions, as I noted, and 152 SIGs, and each of those have sessions. And how many sessions they have depends upon essentially a proportion of the whole number of submissions to the annual meeting, which I don't remember the exact number this year, but might have been approximately 12,000 submissions. And from those 12,000 submissions, those of you who are presenting, ARA has a blind peer review process for all of the papers, and roughly 40 to 45% of those who've submitted are accepted to participate in a session submission, or their paper has been accepted for presentation in either a paper session a roundtable session, or a poster session. So, and then there's the invited part of the session of the meeting, but the invited part of the meeting is really a very small meeting. So this is really a collaborative enterprise among those of you who wanted to participate in the meeting and submitted, and are essentially participating in events that were submitted sessions. Typically, we call them symposia. Some may be workshops, some might be great debates, some might be demonstrations, but they were session submissions in which those who are part of those kind of came in a package with a idea and motivating concept, or an issue, a research issue, or a theoretical issue, or a methodological issue that drove that submission. And the others are papers that have been submitted individually. And when individuals submit papers, they indicate whether they would like to be in a paper session, a roundtable, or a poster session, or they have checked off that they would be interested in any of those three, what we would say, formats or presentation motifs. But the papers remain the same. It's the same paper, whether you are presenting that paper in a paper session, a roundtable session, or a poster session. So let me just say a little bit about what I just called those motifs. If you are presenting your paper in a paper session, there is a chair who will facilitate and essentially organize the meeting, and you may receive an email from that chair. Some chairs might have had a conference call, or perhaps now might suggest a WebEx or a Zoom if it's before the annual meeting, to get together. If it's actually during the annual meeting and your paper session is on day 3, on the platform itself, you can create your own video get-together of the 4 or 5 or 6 of you who might be presenting in a paper session. In a paper session, typically, each presenter presents for no more than 10 minutes, and that is typically the case. You are not reading a paper because, of course, your paper could be read by your just sending the paper, or the paper could later be in the Aera online paper repository. You're making a presentation, and all of the materials about any of our meetings or most other scholarly meetings is, please don't read your paper. Please present it in a way that captures essentially the nuggets of what you've done, its significance, its importance, and speaks to those attending and interested in that topic to understand more about the project or study or research that you were engaged in. In a paper session, the chair will make some orienting remarks. We'll be introducing all of the paper presenters. Each will speak for approximately 8 to 10 minutes. And one of two things will happen. Often the questions are held until the end, and the chair would be signaling that and introducing the session, or the chair might entertain a few questions along the way that could be raised to each paper presenter. Often chairs will wait until after the papers are presented because they've been organized to have some connection between and among them. And also it's a little bit better way of having, I'll say, time control in managing the meeting so that there are not too many questions entertained in the beginning, and those who are presenting are essentially more rushed at the end. But the 3 to 5 paper presenters will present. If that session has been organized with a discussant, the discussant's role is to raise issues or raise questions that further the dialogue, that in a way are the voice of the attendee, because the discussant has access to the papers, as does the chair of the meeting, and will have looked at them in advance. So they might start by reflecting on each of the papers, how they connect, and ask a question or two to start the conversation going. And then the chair will also entertain questions from the audience. These are typically sessions that are under 100, and the chair will be able to, and some are quite a bit smaller, and the chair of the session will be able to call upon, either through the raise hand function or through looking in Q&A or the chat, will be able to call upon and address questions. The roundtable is not an opportunity for individuals to formally present at even that 10-minute mark. The roundtable is intended as an opportunity to have much more engaged discussion around the papers themselves. It's a very good idea for everyone in a roundtable to share emails and share your papers together. It's not required, but if you're having a discussion about your paper with 3 to 5 others on a common topic, it will be a much richer conversation if you decide to share the paper. The chair has access to those papers and will have read them. Typically a roundtable, and Robert is a little bit in a roundtable kind of room, and that's what it will feel like when you go into that room on the platform as an attendee. It will be a roundtable motif. People attend a roundtable in play space, and they kind of cluster around a table because they're interested in that topic. So attendees do come. It's not just a discussion among those who've had an accepted paper, but all of the individuals who've had an accepted paper, as well as the chair, has some interest in that subject. And so there's usually kind of a brief sharing of, one might call it like a mini Ed Talk or TED Talk. It just might be 2 or 3 minutes capturing the essence of your work, maybe an issue that you're struggling with, maybe some additional kinds of work that you are contemplating, and that you would welcome the group discussing. In the paper session, or even in the roundtable, in the virtual space, you will be able to share screen if there's something that you want to show, just as if you had a handout that you might have brought to the roundtable, or you might have shown something from an iPad, maybe a graph or something that makes a point that's particularly meaningful. You will be able to do that in the shared screen mode. In the paper session, those presentations tend to have a little bit more visualization. In the place-based mode, someone might have brought a Prezi presentation or might show on a screen a PowerPoint. If you're doing that in a paper session, you will do, in the virtual space, you will do essentially exactly the same thing. You will share the screen. If you've created an interactive presentation, an iPresentation, you will have pulled that up, and it will be a kind of an open web tab on the top of your screen, and then you will show that. If you chose to do PowerPoint and not tried the interactive presentation, then the wisest thing to do is to pull that up and have that on your desktop and not buried in some My Docs document or in some USB, so that you will share the screens in the same way. The roundtable, though, is a discussion time, and it's often a discussion time with those who attend, who will be able to be acknowledged by the chair and asked to raise whatever questions or issues that attendees might have. In the third presentation mode, in a place-based meeting, a poster prior to this year was essentially a poster board with a poster that you would unravel and pin to that board. I think we provided the pins, and that would sort of capture in some visualization, hopefully not too many words. It's not a cut and paste of your paper, but essentially how you would present your underlying paper for those who walk up to you and scan your poster. So behind Robert is a screen. If we imagine that was a poster, it might have maybe 8 or so pieces that might describe the sample or the purposes. Your objectives might show pieces of your data or findings, or the equivalent if it's a theoretical or methodological piece, and your results. And usually someone walks up and they look at that place in a place-based meeting, and there are many posters in a big room, and they look at that poster and they might ask you some questions, or you might say, well, I could overview my research. Shall I start there? And you might point to things in your poster. In this virtual space, you will have that very same opportunity, except you will know when someone walks into your room. You will not have the clank, clank, clank of other posters around you, that you will be essentially, during your scheduled time, you will be live. Nothing is pre-recorded. You will be live. You will know when someone comes into the room, and these are all in essentially small rooms. You will see them and they will see you, and you can then say, shall I give you a little bit of an overview, or would you like to scan my presentation? And then we could talk about things that you're interested in. If you start with 1 or 2 people and give a little bit of an overview, be conscious that just as you would in a place-based meeting, that 2 people may then join 10 minutes later. The poster sessions and the roundtables are all an hour. And so they tend to be a little bit more individuated experience, because attendees will kind of come into the room. But we have far fewer concurrent posters or roundtables at any one point in time than if you imagine big rooms with tables in them or posters in them. We created many more by reducing the time from an hour and a half to 1 hour. That seemed like an adequate change for the virtual meeting, to have more sessions concurrently that accommodate posters, by shortening the time so there's less at any one point in time. So we hope you will be visited. We have been encouraging creating an interactive presentation, because unlike pulling up, let's say, a PowerPoint, if you pull up an interactive presentation, which we can show you later, all of your formatted aspects of your presentation, whether you've chosen a two-screen format or a 9-screen format, will be visual at once to the attendees, and the attendees can make them full screen and look at your work and ask you questions, or you might start by giving a little bit of an overview of your work. So I hope that by elaborating on the paper submissions and the roundtables and the poster sessions, whether those of you who are with us this morning are presenting in those different modes of presentation, or whether you're attending, you have a feel for the dynamic of what that will be. Sessions tend to have multiple presenters. Sometimes there's an underlying paper. Quite frequently, there's an underlying paper. There is generally more planned commonality around a session submission or an invited submission, because those works are evaluated not only about the strength of the substance of the work and the presentations within them, but also the overall goal of having a symposia. In the meeting itself, though, there's a mix of sessions or symposia type sessions and papers, roundtables, and poster sessions. So where is all that embedded? And I think the best way to give you a feel of where that is all embedded is to take you to the Aera online program that is available to you. And Robert's going to pull that up. You can access that. A visitor can access that, or you can access that by putting in the password that you have as either a member or you received in submission. So, and this is a good thing to do if you haven't done it yet, because this is a way you can sort of shop and experience the structure of the Aera meeting. So if you browse by unit, and Robert's going to open it, you will see that you will be able to see the presidential sessions. These are sessions that are in total somewhere around 33, 34 sessions that relate to the presidential theme, this year being focused on accepting responsibility that we have as a research community for the relevance, significance, and impact of our work and engaging with education issues based on our work. Those presidential sessions are spread throughout the program on days 2 through 5. And for a first-time attendee, it's always worth scanning that set of sessions. You can open them in the current online program. You can read the abstract. You can see who's presenting, who the chair is, the participants, and from that get a feel of which presidential sessions might interest you in attending. There are also a set of sessions that are called Aera-wide sessions, Aera sessions. And actually those you will see include the opening plenary. They include prominent lectures, award lectures, as well as 2 lectures that each year, the Aera Distinguished Lecture and the Wallace Lecture are 2 lectures given each year that are on topics of significance and scholars of significance in our field. This year we have 4 of those because we have those who did not present in 2020 when the meeting was canceled and those who were invited to present in 2022. All of those lectures are in the, Robert, what is it, the 1220?
Yes, the 1220 to 120 time slot.
Time slot, and that's in Eastern Daylight Time. They will be recorded, so you will be able to see them at any time you wish during the meeting and even after the meeting. But all of the lectures, including the Early Career Scholar and other award lectures, are in that tier. And you can scan the Aera-wide, see those lectures, and essentially identify those with their abstracts that you might wish to attend. Those 2 components are really part of essentially the invited program, including a special emphasis on research and research policy issues. That's a segment of the program within the Aera related activities. If you, let's open committees for a moment. These committees have substantive sessions as well, and we include in that the Graduate Student Council, the International Relations Committee, the Social Justice Action Committee, the Committee on Scholars and Advocates for Gender Equity, and the Committee on Scholars of Color in Education. Several of those committees had open submissions. The first two, Scholars and Advocates for Gender Equity, Scholars of Color in Education, and the International Relations Committee. ARA's Social Justice Action Committee has an allocation of 5 planned sessions, and they have created, I'm not sure if they've used all 5, but 4 or 5 this year from their allocation. And the Graduate Student Council also has a program of sessions. And you can open any of those, let's say like the Graduate Student Council in the ARA, from the ARA website, and see those sessions and what they offer. So we can open one of those, equity and justice, see the abstract and the participants. And these two are sessions that have been planned by the by those organizing units. The bulk of the meeting is organized through that open submission, and you will find those under divisions. If we open up divisions, there are 12 divisions. Those 12 divisions overall kind of capture the areas of inquiry in the field. Some of the larger divisions actually have sections under those and have had organized their meeting around some of those subtopics. Within each of those, there are both sessions that have been submitted. There are some invited sessions, but not very many. Most come through the open submission. And there are, within each unit, paper sessions, roundtables, and poster sessions. And you will be able to see them in the program, take a look at where, what you might wish to attend. But when we do our place-based orientation, let's go back to our SIGs. We have 152 SIGs. Some are quite large and some are between 80 members and 100 members. All of the sessions are open to anyone to attend. And of course, all of our units would love for you to join those units as first-time attendees or new members and be part of small working communities, both within divisions as well as within our SIGs. Each of those SIGs, if we open early education and child development, had a session allocation based on their number of submissions. And they too have symposia or session submissions and paper sessions, poster sessions, and roundtable sessions. When we do the place-based orientation, which in whatever time zone we actually do, if we could imagine that we are together sitting at round tables and there's coffee in the morning or tea, and you've come to a table, and if you're a first timer, because it's the first morning of the meeting, you probably know, maybe you know some people at the meeting, but they might not be first timers. And you haven't really navigated this space very much before. You haven't been to an AERA meeting before. What we do emphasize is introduce yourselves to who's ever sitting at the table with you. And we are simulating that in an orientation on, when is the orientation, Robert, for?
It is on Friday morning.
Friday morning, the 9th at
9:30.
9:30. So we will have that session, and that'll be one opportunity. But one of the things we emphasize in talking about AERA and the structure of the meeting, and what used to be, I suppose, touchable in the big program, in the printed program, which we would not have had a printed program in 2020. We essentially would have had have this product that we've had for since 2003 in electronic form, and an app, which I think we introduced in 2012 or so, an app that, you know, people would have on their various cell phones or PDAs or iPads to determine where you want to go. The equivalent of that is actually in the platform. But one of the things we encourage is to sample, to try some things. If your particular work is in teacher education, maybe go to a few sessions from a SIG or in a division that's a little bit outside of your area. Go to an AERA-wide session. If your every unit would have more internationally focused sessions, but you might want to go to a session that is planned by or was part of the open submission of the International Relations Committee, or might be part of an America's Network session or a session of the World Education Research Association. And I'll say shop around a little bit to get an experience of both the issues, the ideas that are complementary to the work that you do, but would give you a broader sense of what is going on in a particular area, so that if you've been doing surveys in early education and you're have been doing longitudinal work, there's a longitudinal study SIG. And in addition to going to a division on development and counseling, if you pull up the divisions again, Robert. Counseling and human development, you can, and you're doing longitudinal studies, you might go and look at a SIG that that's congenial with your methodological interests, including the example of the longitudinal studies SIG. So this is an opportunity beforehand to get a feel for how the AERA structure, which is ongoing throughout the year. Divisions are active, especially since COVID. There have been a lot more workshops, but divisions offer all kinds of programming, not other mini place-based meetings, but sharing of information, mentoring opportunities, other ways of working with their communities at the division level and the SIG level. And this is a place-based, or in this year, a virtual opportunity to become part of the education research community, at least reflected by the 25,000 members who are part of AERA worldwide. We are part of a larger community of scholarly associations in education research worldwide, and we both appreciate, recognize, collaborate, and work with our field across the world in collaborative and collegial ways. The World Education Research Association has any number of those associations as part of its membership, as is AERA. And in showing the array, we are in no way suggesting that that's exhaustive of the topics, the investigators, the scholars, the early career scholars, the graduate students, the doctoral students that live in many other environments and affiliate with other associations as well. And we like to think that AERA in its annual meeting is a big tent that wants to connect with you, whatever your specialty, wherever you are working, whether it's in university and academic settings or research institutes, or in K-12 learning environments, or working in research units in governmental institutions, that the annual meeting is seeking to be one of the many, but the largest worldwide, that we do not want to be intimidating and off-putting. And one of the reasons why I've broken this down into showing you the divisions and the SIGs and the types of sessions that we offer, but we really offer by virtue of the scholarly community largely and essentially submitting their work this year, as we hope you will submit your work next year. I think with that, maybe we'll show you, for those who haven't yet been to one of the orientations, that is what I've tried to do is overview what AERA embraces substantively and how that takes form in the topical areas embraced by divisions and SIGs and the session types. Each of those units also will be having social events that might seem like, how are we going to do that virtually? But we'll be having social events. We've created free time and open periods during the meeting so that one can go to networking tables and informal opportunities, or through the platform, you will also be able to meet up with others. So Robert is now showing, anticipating what I was just about to ask him to display, essentially the structure of the meeting. On Thursday, April 8th, we are only and essentially featuring roundtable and poster sessions, each an hour, and running concurrent roundtable and poster sessions, leading to an opening plenary, followed by a reception. So come to the reception, you'll hear a few words, and there'll be banquet tables where you can talk with persons face-to-face around your own screens and meet up with others. The second day, Friday, April 9th, we start in Eastern time. And we recognize that for different time zones, this is quite a formidable ask, with an opportunity to just informally, you can contact others that you know are at the meeting, might be someone you went to school with, might be former mentors, students, those in your own institution that you might just want to say, and so what are you going to go to today, or colleagues that you know elsewhere. But it's, instead of starting very early, as we typically start a place-based meeting at 8:05, I think, in the morning, we're starting later with a little bit of space, and then starting with a tier of roundtables and poster sessions. And the first hour and a half slot that is for paper sessions and symposia is at 10:40. This invited 1 hour slot is at 12:20 to 1:20. I think there are some limited number also of poster sessions and roundtables in that slot, but there's a reduced number of sessions so that some of the highlighted speaker sessions and those events you will be able to go to, and I suppose have less intensive concurrent choices. That will be followed by a 1 hour break time. And during that break time, there will be opportunities for taking a break if you wish, contacting others. You can one-on-one contact others and have your own individual video chats with a group up to 25 or as small as one other, or text chats, but one would assume that the video chat and seeing people might work best for informal networking. And AERA will be offering a number of topical tables. I think the Graduate Student Council will be hosting, Nathan, is it three tables? One table each day?
I think it's 3, yes.
Yes, so on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they'll be I think at least hosted by the incoming chair and other of the officers. So it's a great time to kind of hang out if you're a graduate student and learn about what the Graduate Student Council does and the many opportunities for graduate students. Then that on Friday will be followed by a plenary. Other days, there is not a plenary, except for day 5, when the presidential address is also in green and a plenary. I won't go through each day, but you can see that the analogs between Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. At the end of each day, there's again another break time from 5:40 to 6:10. And then from 6:15 to 8:15, we call it the business meetings, but officially they're really business meetings and receptions. And each unit divisions in SIGs, sometimes combined with some SIGs. I don't think any divisions are combining this year. Essentially have, I'll say, brief business meetings. Sometimes there might be an invited speaker who wins an award from that unit, or honoring an early career scholar or the best dissertation. There's usually some general overview, common business that is of interest for persons in that area. Nothing is invitational only. If you want to go to a business meeting and you're not a member of the SIG or not even a member of AERA, these are open meetings, and you can navigate to any meeting you'd like. And almost all are including essentially what you would see at a reception, and that is banquet tables. And there'll be a drop-down screen, and some will have topics, and some will have hosts, and some might just be open conversation tables, just as if you went to a reception and wanted to join a table that might have, 8, 10, 12, up to 15 people sitting around a table and talking together. I know some divisions are planning some games. I think some SIGs too. Sometimes fun things related to those topical areas of interest, and to reflect the kinds of ways in which receptions have unfolded across our unit. So we hope that you come to the platform, and we're going to come to the platform, and Robert's going to introduce it and drive us through the platform, that you come to the platform, that you enjoy being there, that it's a single sign-in, so you don't have to schedule a lot of things, that you can set up a My Schedule, but you can go any place you would like through the general schedule, and that even if you want to take a break, you could leave it running in the background and come back, just as if you were in a place-based meeting. You might choose to go for a walk in the park. You might choose to go to a museum. You might choose to go back to your room and prepare for your presentation the next day. And you can do all that, but the platform provides really being part of that environment. If you're part of that environment, others can reach out to you, and you can also reach out to others, or spontaneously join an informal session or go to a session. So with that, we'll take a few minutes going through what that means to enter the environment. Our aim is not to take too long, so that we have a good opportunity to hear from you, and hopefully what we said has started the road to helping you see yourself in the meeting. Robert?
Good morning. This is the login page for our virtual meeting. On Thursday evening, Friday morning, you'll receive an email from our company that we're working with, and it will have your login and password, and you'll just enter it here and go ahead and click the login. And once you do, you'll come to this page, which will have a number of announcements. Now you're getting a little bit of a hard hat tour this morning, so we're still building out, but you're getting really the first preview of the system. There'll be some different content here around the meeting, whether it's ethical standards or possibly what's exciting sessions that are happening that day, or other content that we'll have for you. Might be a video. And once you get past here, you want to just say click to enter, and you'll come into our lobby. Now, as I said, we're still sort of building it a little bit here, so bear with us. When you land in our lobby, you'll see that we have a number of tools. Across the top, we have today's events and upcoming events, sessions that might have been recorded that are on demand, and then any announcements that we might have for you. You'll also be able to teleport, but we'll come back to that in just a minute. You can see there's a click for a help desk here and also another one here. So if you've got any questions, you can certainly click those and you'll be taken to an area where you can interact with Aera staff and the help staff from the company we're working with. Across the bottom, this might change just a little bit, but you can see your favorite sessions that you know that you've earmarked that you might want to go to. You want to do a search, a map, which we're going to show you in a second. Again, a schedule. Who's here? You want to see who's in the platform. You can click that. If you want to chat with someone. Forums. These are opportunities for you to start a conversation and have others post to it. So it's sort of like a blog within the system. This would be your profile. Again, a help desk, and then if you're going to log out. When you receive the email on Friday, it's going to ask you to come into the system, log into the system, and come to your profile and make sure that it's up to date. And so you'll just want to click on this folder here. And when it does, it'll open up. Now, I'm in as a test user. And so I'm going to want to edit my information. And you can see that first name, last name, email address, which will be locked, and that'll be really tied to the email address that you used to register for the meeting. Pronouns, your organization, the title, phone number. You're welcome to share those. You're also welcome to delete those. You can see right here, I want to share my contact information. So if you want folks to find you and maybe see with that contact information, you're going to want to opt in. And then if you want to keep getting newsletters or emails through the system during the meeting, you want to opt into that as well. We do have the opportunity for you then to save it. You also can come in and insert a bio. And so if you'd like to put in a bio for others to see during the meeting, or if you're presenting in a session and you want your colleagues to see your background, and you can click there. And then if you're looking to change your password, you could do that here. So you'll be able to do all of that from this one link. Another tool that we have for you is, and I'm going to go ahead and open up our map, is My Office. And this will be an area that you'll have, and it's just dedicated for you. And it shows what your schedule is, those sessions that you've earmarked as favorites that you want to go to. Again, ability to edit your profile and transcripts. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we get closer to the meeting. This might be a letter of acknowledgement that you attended the meeting. So let's see, we're going to go ahead and if I click on my schedule, you'll see there's actually nothing in my schedule. When I click on today's events, you'll see that we do have a test. And let's say I want to earmark that as something that I want to attend. I could just click this little heart right here. And when I go to my schedule, let's see, add that, allow. It will earmark. Now, again, we're under construction, so bear with us. If we not show today only, okay. Upcoming events, this is today, later today. And then sessions on demand. So these are sessions that were recorded during the meeting that you can go in and view. And we're just going to click on this one right, well, yeah, we'll click right here. And you can see there, this was a session. Now it's a video that's only 5 seconds long. Obviously, the presentation from the session that you're interested in viewing would pop up. One of the interesting features is that if you watch part of it and you come back to it, it'll pick up where you left off. So it'll remember, let's say you watch the first 10 minutes and you want to come back, and it'll start at the 10-minute mark, not at 0, so you don't have to scroll through. And again, any announcements that we might have for you. A lot of those features are also across the top, so it's a little bit redundant, but it's just linked all right here for you. If we come back to our map, you can see we have a couple of different areas around the campus. This Aera info page is that first page that we landed on that had the 6 boxes that'll have content for you each day. Let me go ahead and bring that back up. Back to the lobby. Let's say you would like to go to a session. You can land here, and you'll see our sort of, we're in the foyer space, and all the sessions will be listed here. You can also get to these same, if you don't go to that spot on the map, if you were to close this, you could, from anywhere in the instance or the platform, you can pull down that same today's event. So you don't necessarily have to come to the foyer, but you're certainly welcome to. We come back to our map. We have our presentation gallery. And this is where the list of all the presentations that were created for our roundtables and our posters and our other sessions would be available. I can show you a quick link because it's what that might look like. I'm just going to bring my page across. This is from our 2020 annual meeting, and you can see here would be the types of presentations that would be available for you to look at. These are available during the presentations, but then they would also be available after. So if you didn't get a chance to see Allison's presentation, you could click on her poster and it'll load and you can walk through. This is what Felice was talking about earlier with our iPresentations. If you are a presenter, we encourage you to create an iPresentation because you can see it will live in the instance and people can come to it. There's a narration, there's information about the author and other references, and you can actually reach out to the author. You can schedule a chat. You can see that this individual created their poster session, but I'm sure that you've seen our other tutorials on how this works, but this is how it'll interface with the instance. So let me come back to here. So if you click on this gallery, you would go to the 2021 gallery. Come back to our map, and we have an on-demand library, which again brings up this same, you can get to it a number of different places, but it brings up this window and it's all the events that have been already recorded. And you can scroll through whether it's a business meeting or a paper session. You can sort that particular way. You'll be able to sort by session name, author, whose number of times it's been viewed. You'll also be able to search by division or SIG. If there is a keyword, you can search by keyword as well. And let's say you're, as teacher education, you could type that in and it would bring up all of those that had that as a descriptor, all those sessions or submissions that had that as a descriptor. So we'll come back to our map. We have our exhibit hall. And again, we're still under construction, but you'll land here and you would click on our exhibit directory. And here's just a list of some of our exhibitors. Let's say we click on Harvard Education Press. They'll have some brief contact information. You can then visit their booth if you'd like. And I think it's partially under construction. Each time you land in the exhibit hall, it'll scroll from right to left or left to right, and to show you that there is more information. And they've created some links, and everything that you see here are links. If you want to come over to this side, you can look at this as well. A number of our exhibitors have set up videos, and they'll all be there for you to talk with, and you can click on this chat function right here, and you'll see that you can chat if they're there. They'll pop up. Obviously, we're not open yet, and you'll be able to conduct a chat. So good morning, and whoever's monitoring this from Harvard Education Press will be able to, you'll chat with them, but you can also call them. You can either do an audio call or you can do a video call. And at this point, you would set up a chat, and we'll say allow. And here I am, and I'd be waiting for our vendor, from Harvard Education Press, to join this call. And you would conduct a video call. And up to about 20 folks can join a single call like this. So they'll be able to talk to many attendees at once. So that's I'm going to go ahead and close this.
I think that's really an important feature of this meeting in terms of the proximity between our exhibit space and a place-based space, that each of these exhibits will be staffed just as they are in a place-based exhibit hall by staff of those publishers or research institutions or agencies providing funding during the hours of the meeting. And I don't see it yet, but on that top toolbar is essentially a video camera where the exhibitors can turn that on, and everyone who walks into that space would be just like walking into a poster session or walking into a roundtable. You would be essentially in a small meeting together. If one of the exhibitors wants to talk to you about, or you want to talk to them about a proposal for a textbook you're contemplating or a monograph on your research, they can also set up a separate and private face-to-face meeting within the exhibit hall. That's not to say that's as good as it gets. Obviously, in person offers, an affinity, I suppose, that we all are missing terribly this year. But this is not just about, ads and videos. This is an opportunity to really hang out with and talk with the staffs of all the exhibitors who've chosen to be part of the ARA annual meeting. And there's quite a number, less than in a place-based meeting. Exhibitors are somewhat trying to grapple with what it means to do this in a virtual space, but ARA has quite a good turnout, and I think you will be, pleased with the options you have available, and they are quite interested in talking with you. We also have a planned session that in a way relates to those of you who are wanting to bring your work to publication or have manuscripts underway and you are not quite sure what would be the best land. We have a series of sessions within the scheduled program that are roundtable sessions. And each of those sessions are, we call them the journal talk sessions. And Robert, do we have 6 journal talk sessions?
You do have 6 journal talks.
6, and that's probably about 80 journals or so.
Yes.
About 80 journals. And what you can do is schedule going to one of those and going to the table of any of those journals or hopping between tables if you want to talk to editors of a vast number of journals from around the world. That's a kind of, it's not in the exhibit space, but it certainly relates to contacts. We have other sessions with funding agencies that provide research support. In our usual place-based meeting, we have each day, prior to the meeting, we have full day professional development courses, and during the meeting, half day. This year, because we wanted to concentrate on not overwhelming the number of choices, we are doing 4 4-hour courses in the days after the program ends, and that's the 13th through the 16th of April. And those 4 courses then will be followed by, I think, a sequence of an additional 9, as AERA did last in 2020, so that the professional development courses we've spread through out the year. And the first 4 you can register for at a discount for registration in the as part of your registration. You can go back and do so if you haven't done so already.
We also have you can see here on the lower right, we have ways to ask questions or go to our help desk. We also have a dedicated space here, which on our map, where you can do and come here and either, whether it's ARA HQ related questions or help desk related questions, you can click on these links and someone will be there to chat with you. And we talked earlier about teleporting. You don't always have to pull up the map. Let's say I wanted to go over to, we want to go back to our office. You can just go to it from here. So it's certainly an easier way to get around if you want to go back to the lobby. So you can always move around that way, and certainly you can always bring up the map. We talked about seeing who's here. Now, I would imagine at this point there is someone here this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and reach out and send them a quick note and say good morning. They might just be logged in, and we can see if they respond. Certainly, I know our team is working on the instance right now. I can also, if I'd like to, just as we did with the exhibitors, from this chat box, I could come to this right here and click the video, and you can see that I'm calling them. And if they were there and they wanted to do a video chat, I could do a video chat with another attendee who's in the system at the same time. So just like that, you can create a meeting and a conversation with that test user. We can also, if you wanted to start a new chat, if you wanted to say, we'll say in the social justice group, you could start a group and then you could then invite people to join, and then you could meet via either a chat or again via a video link. And there you could also have 25 individuals who could join that group and have an online video chat. So it would be a private space that only those folks who were invited to that meeting could go to and have their own conversation.
So that's part of why I emphasize the kind of staying, kind of signing in and staying, because you can essentially contact someone and that, just as you would say, let's have lunch together tomorrow, you can not literally be physically together, but you can join you can create spontaneous social networking opportunities in addition to the networking opportunities that we will be providing on topical table issues in that 1-hour band. So there's a lot of it's kind of a little bit like running into the hall. You'll know who's there, and you can reach out and decide on your own to get together without setting up separate meetings outside of the space. But let me say that I'm not reading the chat or the questions. There are several dozen of you who've been with us, or maybe a little bit more, have been with us from the outset. I think we should open it up to your questions. Both post them in the chat. And but Jude, is there a way that people can just raise their hands and speak as well, or we can call upon them if they we're a small enough group that if it's possible to do, that would be nice. But in the meanwhile, Tony and Nathan, what are you seeing in the chat or in the Q&A that?
So the person asked whether the presentations would be available for online viewing afterward.
Those who choose to create your presentations in the interactive presentation gallery, that will be available afterward. And I would say afterward, anyone who's registered can see anything that you would see during the week of the annual meeting or the 5 days in the annual meeting. We made a special arrangement to have all registrants have access to all content and the platform for a year, because we know what a stressful year the past year has been. COVID has just, wreaked havoc with our health-related and family-related obligations and responsibilities, has upended one's work situations. And so the actual platform for registrants only will be available through until the beginning of next year's annual meeting. But just as you saw the gallery from 2020, the gallery will also be available for in public space for scholars from around the world to connect with you. You have a unique citation to that presentation. If your paper is in the online paper repository, you have another unique citation and a DOI to your backbone paper, and that material will be available.
Someone else asked whether they would be able to schedule viewing simultaneous sessions and then just rewatch one of them later while participating live in the other one.
That's all of our fantasies, to be in multiple places at the same time. You yourself can only be in one place at the same time, but that's why we have the on-demand library. All of the sessions, except for in the substantive program, except for poster sessions, that tends to have people coming in and out and could have periods of starting again. Those aren't being recorded, but everything else will be in the on-demand library. But there isn't a split screen for a viewer where you can sort of see two things at once, though you can pop around. And one of the reasons why we went through the current AERA online program that's available to you now is that all of that functionality will be available to you in Schedule and My Schedule. You'll be able to search by day, by unit. You can introduce two controls at once. And actually, all of those same functionalities are available in the gallery. So all of the ways that AERA structures itself in terms of the presidential sessions, the AERA-wide sessions, the committee sessions, division sessions, will be searchable just as the app that we had through 2019, and we'll resume having a place-based meeting, essentially mirrors the online program in terms of searchability. Here you can create your schedule and then just go to My Schedule, and all you do is you press an arrow and get to wherever you want. But not two things at the same time.
Felice,
Yes.
this has been good. If anybody wants to talk, use the raise hand feature and I will allow to talk.
So please join us, because we are a small enough group. You can enter in Q&A, or you can just, Badut will call upon you, and we would love to be able to help in any way we can.
Felice, there was a question in Q&A that you were going to answer live, I believe, about where to find the editors of journals again.
Okay, those were, so you, those are the 6 sessions we have that are called journal talks. Can we, maybe, Robert, can you pick them up from the AERA program? They're not loaded here yet. But they are spread throughout the meeting. I think they'd be in AERA wide, right? Journal talks, you see, yeah. And so you can see 1 through 6, and then if you open it, you'll see the journal talk 1, the journals that, and who these are all typically editors, almost without exception. I suppose if an editor cannot come, it might be an associate editor. These are all referee journals. They're worldwide. Many are association-based, like each of AERA's journals have table times, and you're essentially joining a table and can ask anything you wish. And if there are too many people at the table and you want to set up a private time, or the editor says, okay, let's get together, that's a perfect time that you can schedule it, or the editor would schedule it with you within your individual capacities to have additional time together. And that is true of if you have a presentation in the interactive presentation gallery, you'll be able to do that too. And many of you as authors can just go ahead and schedule a time. And if people are looking in the gallery, or you can invite people, maybe persons in a SIG that might find your work interesting, you can invite them and talk about your work, or talk to other people in the gallery. The gallery is sortable also by division, SIG, unit, all of the same kinds of functionality. Hey, thanks, Robert. And that's the 2020. We didn't have an annual meeting in 2020. It was canceled. So these presentations were not presented live. They were created in October, November, and December last year, really with a number of authors who wanted to both present their work and be accessible in the knowledge production cycle to other scholars who might be interested in their work. And they do an overall narration and have some of the other features that make their work accessible. I want to emphasize, not because this is about, this is about community and respectfulness and trust in discussing work, sharing work. This is the work of single or multiple authors. AERA takes very seriously, in any way, shape, or form, someone listening to something and misappropriating it is no more acceptable to AERA than taking being in a live session and picking up your iPhone and taking a slide and adopting it as your own in your next presentation. Falsification, fabrication, plagiarism are very serious issues in any field of scholarship and science, and AERA has ethics guidelines and takes seriously any kind of misconduct that happens in anything that AERA, any event that AERA does. As I hope implied in the introduction of our interpreters and the closed captioning, that will be provided for all of our sessions. There will be live closed captioning and ASL. There will be the use of technology, AI technology, for all of the paper sessions, roundtables, and poster sessions. And any presenter or attendee that has a particular need or interest in either live ASL or live closed captioning can request that through our dedicated email box, access@aera.net. AERA is has really ramped up every year, but for now, well, much of this century and almost 2 decades, our commitment to accessibility for all attendees and all presenters with disability needs, that we want to be able to provide what you need, and to also, for all of us, to be respectful of all of the ways in which we need to be mutually supportive and inclusive. Aera in 2019 introduced an ombuds program where one can seek individual support or reflection quite independently of Aera. If there are ways to reach staff, including the executive director, who I serve as the ethics officer as well. If during the meeting you want to reach us individually, whether it's place-based or virtual, but the Ombuds program provides another vehicle separate from the structure of Aera. If you have just any form of uncertainty or certainty or anything that you want to discuss that just raises doubts about the provision of services, how others are treating or not so welcomingly treating others at the meeting. It's a support that we provide, and that landing page will provide a lot of information, some of which is already on our website, about even about how to best present, whether you're using the iPresentation, which we hope you use, or a PowerPoint or a Prezi, or I suppose if anybody still has any transparencies floating around, and we'll share your screen with those. The size of the point, to not be so text laden that it's impossible to effectively read, to, if you have visuals up for those with limited sight, to be able to describe your visual in a way that at least conveys that some sense of what you are showing, recognizing that that accessibility for all is a strong and that's a collaboration that we're all engaged in. Any other hands up, Badut?
No, I do not see any hands up.
Tony? Nathan?
I think we've addressed all the major issues.
Anything else in chat?
There are no open questions.
Okay, well, we appreciate, we know how many things that that you're trying to do, all year long. This has not been an easy year, and for those who are teaching in any teaching setting, whether higher education or K-12 environments, we know this has been particularly altering in terms of how you, not both where you operate your lives and for whom, and the ways in which you're doing your work, so that we hope this session has helped to address the questions on your minds, and most importantly, for newcomers and first-time attendees, staff to staff, and our leadership to leadership, our executive board, our council. We have this association to be a place that you want to be part of, and this kind of session is a way that we try to seek to be in your shoes and to serve you in your work. This one will be recorded. Tomorrow's will be recorded. The one on Friday is going to be kind of a town hall, just Q&A session. So if there are things that remain lingering for you that you don't see, or you would like to have readdressed, we're happy to do so. Yesterday, there was an hour-and-a-half session where one of the members of our community who had done 2 of her papers from the 2020 meeting in the interactive presentation gallery do a demonstration live as to how she goes about doing that. That's true of some of the other interactive presentations, but it was quite terrific to have Lori Santa Maria yesterday do that as a member of our research community and show how she has fun with it. And it can be done in more simple ways, or she kind of likes the bells and whistles in her presentation. And she showed a lot of the functionalities and why she chose to do so. But whatever you choose to do, we hope you really enjoy the meeting. There'll be plenty of supports, not because we think it's so formidable, but we don't want you to wonder or worry about something once you're at the meeting, when there's plenty of opportunity for help. So we hope everyone has a good evening or rest of day, and we look forward to seeing you on April 8th, and hope that you will sign in sooner than that and start working on your own schedule and how you'd like to spend your time. Thanks very much. And thank you, Kabowski and Joe and Amy, for being with us always, and today as well.
Thank you.